Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a double feature movie review for both the film and its sequel. This review is going to be for a movie, our music-styled comedy movie that was released in 1992, and its sequel released a year later in 1993. And these films tackle music genres like heavy metal or just classic rock music. Yeah. And these films are none other than Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2. I finally watched these two movies on Easter weekend. And I gotta tell you, these films rocked. I'm telling you, both these movies were so good. They're fun. Like, I think along with Shrek and Austin Powers, this is probably my third favorite Mike Myers role. No, the comedian guy is not the serial killer from Halloween. That's right. I mean, yeah. Mike Myers has three good roles, and of course, sure, he's done some really bad movies like The Love Guru. Oh, and do I even need to dare mention The Cat in the Hat? But, however, at least there are only two bad roles. So, the plot. Let's start with the first film, shall we? The storyline for the first film. Wayne is a man still living at home. He has a world-class collection of name tags from jobs he's tried, but has failed to keep. However, he does have his own public access TV show, which he records in the basement of his house, with his friend named Garth, played by Dana Carvey. Eventually, a local station finds out about their show and decide to hire him and Garth to do their show professionally, and Wayne and Garth find that it is no longer the same. Meantime, Wayne falls for a bass guitarist and uses his and Garth's video contacts to help her career along, knowing that Ben Oliver, the sleazy advertising guy who is ruining their show, will probably take her away from him if they fail, and threatens to take their show away as well. So, this easily has to be one of my favorite comedies of all time. Sure, while Mike Myers may be better known for Austin Powers and Shrek, Wayne's World was the film that really brought his comedic genes to the mainstream public. This was originally a Saturday Night Live sketch about these two guys having their public access cable TV show in their basements. And of all the Saturday Night Live to film adaptations ever, this one is probably the best. It's got this fairly simple plot, and really shines in its clever humor. It even highlights and subverts the rules of film narrative, something Myers carried over into Austin Powers, a trait which really lacks in the more predictable comedies today, especially all those awful parody ones like Date Movie, or Disaster Movie, or Epic Movie, or every Seltzer Freeberg movie, really. Wayne and Garth literally talk directly into the camera, which they break the fourth wall, and only they're allowed to do it. No other characters are allowed to talk to the camera in these two films except for them. There's a bit of product placement, pop culture parodies, some guest appearances, and the Bohemian Rhapsody. Had been seen as easily probably one of my favorite comedy scenes of all time, and easily the best scene in the movie and franchise, period. And three funny alternate endings. First, the movie almost ends on a downer note. Then the movie also almost ends on a Scooby-Doo-like note. And then they finally have an actually better ending. An actually happy ending is their final one. Top that off with the slew of silly jokes and endless quotable lines. And it's another film which, even soon to be 30 years later, still strikes a chord with the viewers regardless of their age, and even towards the end when the need to wrap up the story cleanly can ruin many comedies. Wayne's World easily still retains a sense of humor. Here's one. The pop culture crusade responsible for most of the Saturday Night Live skits was working in overdrive in this film, and it's easily a good thing. Everything from all the product placements to the gratuitous sex. Well, there's no actual sex scene in this, guys. It just says that It just says that line at the bottom of it, and they don't show anything. Darn. So lame plot devices were lampooned. Rob Lowe was excellent as the sleazeball junior television executive, while cameos abound from the rock world, including Alice Cooper and Meatloaf. Well, the Alice Cooper scene is easily the best, where they meet Alice Cooper, and then they realize, we're not worthy, we're not worthy, we're not worthy. Oh man. They'll not publicize as much as the other quotables from the movie. Easily. I mean, as Saturday Night Live based movies have been a hit or miss since their inception, but this was unquestionably a hit. With that pretty much wraps up my review for Wayne's World 1. Now, since the movie was pretty profitable at the box office for a February released movie, we all know it then got a sequel film that was pretty much released almost a year and a half after the first film, in 1993. And this movie was, of course, you all know the sequel name, Wayne's World 2. It was released around a kind of a bad time, really. Unlike the first film, it was not really a hit at the box office, mainly because of films like Mrs. Doubtfire being out around the same time, and we all know Mrs. Doubtfire made a lot of money at the box office when it was released. Like, Mrs. Doubtfire made over $400 million worldwide and around $219 million domestically. This movie only made like $48 million domestically on a $40 million budget. However, you may think the sequel's bad, right? No. Actually, you want to know something shocking? This was probably a comedy sequel that was also really good. Now, was it as good as the first one? No, but no sequel is going to be as good as the first one, guys. It's impossible. But for a comedy sequels usually suck. Like a lot of them. There's so many bad comedy sequels, like Hangover Part 2 and 3, Ted 2, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th fucking Home Alone sequels. Every Home Alone sequel after Home Alone 2 anyways. Oh god. What else can I think of? Just any comedy sequel in general. Most of them. But not this one. So, what is this film? What is the sequel about? Well, Wayne and Garth are back, and they are no longer living in the basement from the first movie. They are now recording their own show from an abandoned factory. This time, Wayne and Garth are trying to organize a rock festival in the spirit of with help from the spirit of Jim Morrison. Meanwhile, his girlfriend's manager is busy trying to woo her away from Wayne and move her to LA. Life gets interesting when Wayne must rush from the concert to try and stop the wedding. Yeah. So, what are my thoughts on this movie? In general, sequels tend not to be such a good idea. There are many examples when a sequel has been rubbish, and it's rare that a sequel can even match up to its original, even if it is a good film. However, every so often a sequel comes along that can match its counterpart and even have some better points. Wayne's World 2 is sometimes an example of this. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey are back as Wayne and Garth. And once again, they have great performances in this. Wayne and Garth are still hilarious in this movie, just as hilarious as they were in the first one. It has another strong plot and some great new characters that go with the originals, make this film very watchable, and there are possibly even more laugh-out-loud funny moments than before. Wayne's World 2 actually has a lot of memorable scenes, and probably the best parts are when they're taking that scene off of Jurassic Park, when Garth and Kim Basiner's character are about to make love, and when Christopher Walken's character is chasing Wayne and Garth up there, spying on Cassandra and him. And I think probably my favorite scene in this movie is probably the fight with Wayne and Cassandra's father. Sure, it's a little corny, but it's extremely hilarious. This song, Wayne's World Party Time, excellent, is a very funny song, and another cameo from Chris Farley in this movie. Rest in peace, by the way. He had a cameo in the first one as well, so I have to say, So he was absolutely hilarious as usually is in most of his films like Billy Madison and Black Sheep, Tommy Boy, and Beverly Hills Ninja. Sure, the movie does get a little hyped and corny at times, but the plot still makes up for it. All in all, guys, like Wayne's World 2 is like a great movie and with a well-written storyline, great comedic cast, even if it's not as good as the first one. If you're like a big fan of the first Wayne's World movie, don't expect this one to be just as good, but it is still as enjoyable and has many funny scenes. Cast is still positive as the first and seemed like they were still having a lot of fun together. I didn't really like that they rehashed a few jokes in the first one, like sometimes a lot of this movie can be a little bit too rehashed of the first one, really. Especially mostly coming from the two main characters. They picked a couple lines that worked out well the first time and kind of repeated them, which is what usually a lot of sequels do, and I find that very lazy and the biggest problem with this film. But most of the new jokes are very funny and entertaining. Some fans of the first Wayne's World are probably going to be disappointed, but Wayne's World 2 is still definitely worth the watch. So my recommendation for both these movies, I definitely check them out if you haven't. They're some of the best music comedies of all time. Easily, and here's how I would probably rank both the movies.
I'm gonna give Wayne's World a 10 out of 10. And I'm gonna give Wayne's World 2 an 8 out of 10.
And that pretty much wraps up my review for both Wayne's World 1 and 2, back to back. Yeah. It's good finally getting to watch these movies for the first time. And also, we are 5 subscribers away from reaching 90 subscribers. I think I gained 2 new subscribers in just one weekend. It's a pretty interesting Easter weekend. Yeah, because next month, on May 29th, we're soon approaching the month that will be my 1-year anniversary since I started this YouTube channel. And now that I'm almost getting to 90 subscribers, and here are some things coming. So new releases that are coming this month. There's April 16th, Nobody Comes to Streaming. That film with Bob Odenkirk, guys. That is going to get a review next week. And then, of course, we all know April 23rd. Or, I think it is, yeah, 23rd. Mortal Kombat comes out. So, I also do a review of that. Yeah, we all know so forth. But, so far, this has proved to be a win. With all these films I'm watching, this is already a way better year. I can say that. But, this is just what I wanted to share. But all in all, that'll be it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching, and if you'd like to see more, then don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.